Hey everybody, welcome back to another 10-minute Marvel video. I'm Petter, and, well, I just got back from Fantastic Four. I apologize. And because it was kind of the opening preview night, packed theater, got a cool chain. So that's the video for today. No, of course not. This is the kind of initial review video for Fantastic Four First Steps. I plan on doing probably some follow-up videos on this, or at least one follow-up video on this tomorrow, talking about the post-credit scene that is the more serious one. And that will come out then. I'll talk about it briefly when I talk about spoilers here. But first off, I want to do a non-spoiler review for people who are maybe on the fence. Like, is this one worth seeing in theaters? Or maybe is this like some of the other Marvel projects where it could just be a better idea to grab it and watch it on Disney Plus? I do think that this one is worth seeing in theaters. This, like I was saying with Thunderbolts, when I did my review of that, I called it just a good film. This is a good film. Take away Marvel, take away the superhero. This is just a well-crafted and well-created film with very good performances from the 6 kind of main characters of the film. I thought all of them did a very solid job. Some of them were given more to work with, kind of the ones you'd expect. But overall, it's just a good film. It balances out action, science, adventure, kind of exploration. You get a feel of a world that is very different, and I think it's been created and worked with in a really good way. It feels like a truly unique sort of place, and it feels different than the unique sort of places that Marvel has shown us before. I'll talk about that a little bit more in the spoiler section, but overall, I have very high praise for this film. When we talk about it on the podcast, and I prep Greg for this question as well, when we talk about it on the podcast, we're going to talk about where we would rank it kind of within the Marvel movies and shows that have come out thus far, and where we think that will land. So that conversation is going to be saved for the upcoming podcast episode here on the YouTube channel. Click on the podcast tab, subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's going to and click that notification bell to know when new videos come out, because that will come out on a Sunday night. But let's move into spoilers here. Spoilers. You have been warned. Spoilers. So now we're in spoilers. This whole plot. Now, I think there might be some people are like, okay, does the plot make sense? And I think it does from the perspective of Galactus. So Shia LaBeouf doesn't really care. She's not targeting Earth for any particular reason. It's just another planet, and Reed kind of has figured out the pattern of how she selects planets. So when they go to find Galactus, to find the Devourer of Worlds, he asks them for their son. He scans them and kind of is like, that baby is a being of immense power. And they really don't go into Franklin's powers that much in the movie, which is, I think, fine. I think that's going to be good to build to just how gigantic that reveal is in Doomsday. But I like the idea that Galactus almost looks at Franklin as a replacement for him. And yeah, Galactus may be looking at it as, well, if I eat Franklin, that may satiate me, which is an interesting thing. But Galactus, in some ways, calls him similar to Galactus. And I think I like that because it's a slight misunderstanding of Galactus. Galactus doesn't quite understand what Franklin is and what Franklin's powers are, nor should Galactus be the one to kind of maybe reveal Franklin's abilities to create new universes completely. So I think that really works well. And another thing that, I mean, let's talk setting and music here for a little bit, because I think they nailed that aesthetic. They didn't overdo it with the retro futuristic stuff. There was plenty of grounded stuff in there. The Fantastic Four had only been up in space and back down for 4 years. But they had established themselves, and there were certainly their touches on the world, and I think probably just in the greater world, there's a slightly larger, further advancement than the regular Earth at that point in time. But it wasn't everything. I like that it wasn't the Jetsons. It still had an Earth type feel to it. There were just these things sprinkled in that clearly made everything different. And then the music was amazing for this film. I think that's one of the things that really stood out to me about it is some Marvel movies have a very good soundtrack. You know that, I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy films probably being the most obvious, but they use a number of songs, and it maybe relies on that. Captain Marvel is one where I think they really used a soundtrack and didn't stick the landing with it. And this feels different from a lot of Marvel stuff because it has so much score work. The Fantastic Four theme, the Galactus theme. It is music filling the world and filling what you're watching, but it isn't music that is going to ever pull you away. It is there to fill and make you feel and swell at the right times, but it's not going to be like, oh man, I can't believe they used that song. Or, I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, that mixtape, when they announced the songs there, it was like, oh, okay, let's see if we can figure out what that tells us about it. It was never anything like that. Then another piece I want to talk on, because Greg and I were discussing this outside of the theater, was kind of how they bookended the film with this Ted Gilbert show. And this idea of when we start, it's the Ted Gilbert show kind of doing a, hey, it's been 4 years, this is all the Fantastic Four has accomplished. And it's an interesting start to the film. That actually is the part where definitely John Malkovich was supposed to be. They mention Red Ghost. So I'm fine with them cutting him out, because I think they kept that part moving at the proper pace, which was pretty fast. But I think it also worked because it really set up the fact that the Fantastic Four are huge celebrities. This isn't a situation where it's like, oh, the Fantastic Four, like, they're superheroes amongst other superheroes. They are the superheroes. They have their own TV show. Mr. Fantastic has his science videos. Johnny is doing advertisements for all sorts of things. Sue has brokered peace with Mole Man and the Subterraneans, which, by the way, in the comics and kind of the Jonathan Hickman run, that felt very much like a parallel where she was the one who was really brokering peace with Namor and a few other nations. And they gave her that role. Like, they gave all of them something to do, with kind of the exception of Ben, which was a bit of a bummer. But, I mean, they did give him his heroic moment as well. But all of that montage, all of that kind of show that happened was to show how much everybody loved them, how much the Fantastic Four have solved everything that's come their way, and solved stuff in a bigger way than ever expected. Like, the Future Foundation is the UN, but with everybody very much on the same page, except for one nation. We'll talk about that in a second here. And that means when they fail, when they don't go, or when they go to Galactus and they don't defeat Galactus, they don't stop Galactus. Galactus is still coming because he wants Franklin, and that's too high a price to pay. I thought that was great because it really sets up why people would look at it as such a fall, why people would turn against the Fantastic Four as fast as they do. They're the only heroes out there, and they don't fail. Now they've failed. And not only have they failed, but everybody knows what the solution could have been, which I think is great as well. And because people have that expectation that the Fantastic Four shouldn't fail, they can't wrap their head around why the Fantastic Four won't give up Franklin. Which I think, that just, it works well again. And it works to create this tension. It works to create this moment within the family where Reed is like, it is the most logical choice. Like, this is a ethical, sound solution. And that causes issues, and that causes tension between him and Sue. Not because he was going to do that. Not because he was going to give up Franklin. But because in his brain, he knows that there's a very simple, straightforward solution. One child for the fate of the world. And that math seems simple. And even though he doesn't like the math and he doesn't agree with that math, I think that it becomes really easy to see how everybody would latch onto it, and how he would understand that, yeah, that is the simplest option. That would be a clean solution, but it can't be the solution. I had something else in my head now that I'm pretty sure is gone, about, I don't even remember for sure what it was about anymore. But I will say too, I liked Johnny in this a lot. They don't overplay the playboy, like, flirt. He still is like, ooh, naked space girls, he says it, or something like that. He had a moment with her, and it's just like, he's still Johnny in there. It's just that on Earth he has more that he cares about than that. He has this whole family dynamic, which you see in the comics as well. So I don't think they really did Johnny injustice there. It might have been what I was going to say, but I'll say it now. Anyways, it might have been that I also like how they gave Johnny more to do than just kind of be the flame on character. He takes on problems for himself, because I think there's a little bit more maybe self-awareness in this Johnny from maybe with the comics, where this Johnny really knows that compared to everybody else, like, he's smart, but he's not weed smart. He's not Sue smart. He doesn't know how to handle people and tense situations the way that she does. He's not the kind of rock, the foundation of and steady like Ben is. He wants to be something more than just kind of the guy who flames on. So I like how he keeps on trying to do things that help, and I like it how he is the one who does figure out kind of Shia LaBeouf's language, Shia LaBeouf's what she is saying, what she has done, like in greater detail, and translating all of that. They obviously show it very quickly. That was not very quick. None of this was very quick. There is time built into this movie, I think, in a much bigger way than any other Marvel movie in some ways. This movie, they say it's like, okay, it takes place over a year, basically. I mean, the last show, Ted Gilbert's show, he says it's been a year. And I think a year since Galactus. So there's this wonderful kind of time, and there's this wonderful element where nobody pays attention to Johnny that I really like in this film. And then, of course, we have our two post-credit scenes. They were actually flipped from the order that I thought they would be. The end credit scene was just the cute animated intro for the Fantastic Four show. That was fun. But then the mid-credit scene was the one where we got introduced to Doom. Kind of. Now, this mid-credit scene was filmed by the Russos, so it probably is Robert Downey Jr. No guarantee. We'll have to see where Doomsday kind of picks up. But Doom has made his way into the Baxter Building, and now he is playing with a 4-year-old Franklin Richards. 4.5-year-old, probably, really. And it's this interesting moment because it ties back into what we've seen before in this film. For people who maybe don't know the Fantastic Four as well, in the Future Foundation shots, and it happened a couple times during the film, they always panned over Latveria with its empty seats. Nobody was there from Latveria at this UN type thing. So there is Latveria in this world. There is a Doom in this world, but this Doom has been quiet, I would say, is probably the best way to put it. He hasn't been making big, grandiose plays for the world or anything like that. He has been biding his time. And now it seems like there's going to be something that he knows. And I wonder if it's going to be a situation where he gets Franklin and leaves Earth 848, no, 8, whatever it is, 848, And he leaves that world, and the Fantastic Four come after him. And that's kind of where the Thunderbolts post-credit scene comes in. But that's just kind of my thoughts. And just digging into all of it, there's so much going on in the film, and we will be talking about it in a whole lot more detail on the 10 Minute Marvel podcast. Like I said, you can find the podcast here on YouTube. Our review episode will come out on Sunday. Sunday today is 24th, 27th, late that night, so good for your drive into work on a Monday morning. You can check that out here on YouTube. And if you enjoy this content, please give the video a thumbs up. Drop your non-spoiler reviews down in the comment section below, or vote in the poll that I'm going to be putting up over on the posts tab. And if you get your podcasts from other spots, you can search for 10 Minute Marvel wherever you get your friendly neighborhood podcasts from. But with that, we'll see you next time.